Hello team, welcome back. And in the previous lecture, we have set up the project. So today we will see how we can implement the simple extent report. We will write down some Java code and we will see how we can create the sample extent report. So this is the project which we created for the extent report. So to create the sample report, what we will do? Very first, we will create a class over here in the SRC test Java. So I will create a package first. I will call it extent report. And within this particular package, we will create a class sample extent report. Let's click on the finish. So this is the class which we created. Within this particular class, what we will do, very first we will create a test case. So I will call it public void and I will call it sample report. This is my test case name. And as this is a test case, so I need to attach a @test annotation on my test case. This is the primary thing which you need to do and import the test annotation from the TestNG. Next, what you need to do to create the extent report, we need to write down or we need to put some extent specific code over here. And how we will get the extent specific code? So let's go to the official documentation of the extent report. We'll open the extent report official documentation, go to the docs, version 5, Java, because we are using the Java version. Over here, you see you are getting a complete example. Let's click on the complete example. And here you see you are getting this example. What I will do, I can simply copy the complete code, right? But let's avoid to copy the complete code and copy the code which is present within this particular function. So I will copy this up to this particular point and paste it here. Don't worry, I will explain each and everything whatever the code you have copied from the official page. So very first you see what we are doing. We are saying extent reports, extent, new extent reports. We are creating the object of the extent report. So very first, let's import the extent report package from the extent reports, right? So over here, you have created the object of the extent report. And second, what you are doing, you are creating the object of the extent Spark reporter. So I will import the extent Spark reporter. And now what you are doing, you are calling extent attach reporter and you are attaching this particular reporter. Over here, what is this particular thing? This is the path of your HTML file, your report HTML file. Whenever you are defining the path like this, it will create the spark.html. This is your extent report at this particular location. But let's suppose I want to create the report at my root location. So I will call it my sample report.html. Simple. Now you see we are getting extent dot attach reporter and spark. Whatever the object you created over here, you are passing the object of the extent spark reporter to that particular extent reporter object, right? Before that, if you want to work on the spark, so let's call spark dot, and over here you see you are getting the config, and in the config you can set a couple of things like if you will call set, you see you are getting a couple of options. Set theme. Let's click on the set theme. We are getting the null. So you can set the theme of your Spark report over here. So you can call like theme dot dark. So now it will create your extent report in the dark theme. Similarly, you can call it again spark dot config dot set. And you see we are getting the reporter set report name. We can also set the report name. So let's suppose we are setting the report name, my sample report, spark dot config dot set, and you see we are getting the document title. You can also provide the document title like my first extent report, right? This is going to be the document title. And then what we are doing, we are passing the spark object to the extent object. Basic. After this, we are creating few test case. Let me remove this one. and keep the other ones. And let me remove this one as well, because these are the test cases which we see in the upcoming section. Now over here we have a, now over here we will remove this one as well. So here are few test case. You see how you are creating a test case. On the extent object you are calling a method create test, and then you are passing the test name. Correct. So let's suppose we are passing the test name like my first test, or let's call it Facebook login test. And now you see on this you are passing a couple of information like info, pass, warning, skip. But we don't want to go this way. I don't want to pass this particular information like this. I will comment out this. And I will create the object of this particular create test. So I will call extend test, call it login test equals to extend test. And I will import the extend test from the extend report. Put a semicolon over here. Now, whatever the information you want to pass, you can pass on the login test object, like login test dot info, like passing username. Similarly, I will copy this, passing password. Similarly, I will copy this, click submit button. And similarly, I will copy this and mention pass test success. Simple. I will remove all these things. So right now what we are doing, we are basically creating a dummy test case. You see, these are not the test steps. There's no Java code. We are just putting a simple log statement on my test case. Similarly, we are creating the another test case, and it is called parent with child. So over here you see you are creating a test of a test. Very first you created the test case, extend test, and on that extend test you are creating a create node child. We will go through these use case later. And I will remove this one as well even. Let's remove all these test case. Now let's copy this and create another test case and call it home page test. Facebook home page test. It call login pass, enter to Facebook home page. In the info we are calling click on profile. In the info, let's remove this info, and this time let's mention test fail and mention a message test failed. Simple. And in the last we are flushing the extent report on the extent object. You also need to change the object over here, right? This object we are creating in the start of my function. So these are the two simple test case which we created, and over here you see all these things we have already explained. Now what I will do, I will save this and execute this file as a TestNG test. So run as a TestNG test. This test got executed. Let's refresh your project, and you see a HTML file got created over here, my sample report HTML. Let's open this HTML file. So once you will open the report, it will open this particular web page, and you see this web page is basically opening from my local machine. What is the title of your page? My first extent report. The title you passed over here, my first extent report. What is the report name? My sample report. You see over here you are getting the report name. The report name you passed over here. The theme is dark, so that you are getting the dark theme. If I will change it, I will remove the dark, and let's type, and let's choose the standard and execute this test case again. It will write up the same file, my sample report HTML. So I don't need to open the file again. I just need to refresh it. You see, the report theme is changed from dark to the standard one. The title is same, the report name is same. Now, whatever the test we created the two test case, Facebook login test and Facebook homepage test. So whatever the title you mentioned over here in the create test, the same title will be display over here, Facebook login test. Second test title, Facebook homepage test, the title displayed over here. If you will go through the detail of the first test case, you see the first three steps are the info statements. Passing username, passing password, click on the submit button, and then we have the pass function test success. The same thing we mentioned over here, info, 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 and pass. And in the second test, we have the 3 step. First is the pass, second is the info, and third is the fail. Pass, info, and fail. If you will go to the summary, you see this is the date, this is the time whenever we are executing the test cases. One pass, one fail, and over here you are getting the steps. That there are total 2 pass steps, 4 info steps, and 1 fail steps. So over here you see this is the extent report. We created the extent report, and this is the code which we need to use to create the extent report. So today we have created a sample extent report, and we have seen that how you can create a very basic extent report. So whenever you will be writing up the TestNG test, whenever you will be writing up the Selenium test, you need to just use these functions to feed your data or feed your test data to the extent report. And extent report will display all the data, whatever the data you want to display in the report. So that's all for the day, team. Thank you. See you next time.